So the UN put out a report today. They were studying Iraq from January 2014 to October 2015. It's 21 months, and sort of tallying up all the terrible shit they could get a story about ISIS doing. The headline is they've taken 3,500 people as slaves and killed 18,802 civilians. It's based on testimony from like victims and witnesses among the refugees fleeing ISIS, so maybe not the most reliable source, but then on the other hand, like it is actually kind of the most reliable source. Like, where else are you going to go to get this information? You can't send like a scientist in a white lab coat with a notepad to be like, oh, don't no, don't pay attention to me. Just keeping track of how terrible you are. Go on with your killing. Just keep going. So we gotta go with this kind of thing. Anyways, some more terrible things for you. They've wounded about 36,000 people and displaced 3.2 million just within Iraq. So that's not even counting people going to Europe or Turkey. 3 million within Iraq, including 1 million school-aged kids. Worse news for kids, though, 800 to 900 have been abducted and kind of pressed into military and religious training. And then those guys, they have to worry about the 18 boys under the age of 18 who were killed for deserting the front lines in Anbar. Sex slaves are being sold for between $500 and $2,000. They have the story of 42 women who were sent to Syria to be sex slaves, and that was how much they were worth. And then 19 women were killed for refusing to have sex with ISIS fighters. The kind of crazy story is about this Quran memorization contest. So people had to memorize passages from the Quran and then recite them to prove their piety and how holy they were. And the three most pious, most holy reciters were given sex slaves as a prize. So ISIS has been suffering a string of losses recently. They're kind of like on their back feet. And CNN is even reporting today that they've had to cut their fighters' pay by 50% because apparently when we started bombing the buildings full of money that they just left lying around like that was an okay idea, it hurt their finances a little bit. And bombing the oil trucks and all that too. So maybe we're doing a decent job fighting them militarily. But there are similar groups. There's Al Qaeda groups in Boko Haram in Africa. There's other groups in the Middle East. And I think it's all part of this sort of terribly nihilistic, narrativeless moment that the world as a culture is kind of going through, right? I mean, you see on the one side you have ISIS and all this, and on the other side you have Trump and Golden Dawn and Periga or whatever the thing is in Europe. All these sort of hardcore right-wing groups on the other side. I mean, the only stories that exist right now are these terrible extremist stories. And I want to ask you to think about and talk to me about and reassure me about what we as a culture are doing to be better than all this bullshit. Because, you and I are good people, right? You and I would never take sex slaves or go a murdering. But we also know that there are terrible people out there who don't sympathize with the victims when they hear all these stats. They think, damn, I could go for a $500 sex slave. And so what are we doing? Why is it better to be a good American, good European citizen than it is to have sex slaves and unchecked power? What can we offer? What hope, what story can we tell that is better than that? So let me know what you think. Please come up with something, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.